Greetings, everyone. Tim Anderson here, aka Renfell, and welcome to the latest episode of Monday Musings, where I talk about life, art, games, shows, books, everything that's going on in our realm. Here for my Monday morning cathartic decompress vlog series. I still, over the years, I still prefer vlogging to blogging. Um, as much as I love to write. I think that I want to say the first time I did a YouTube video was 2011. I don't think it was 2010. I'd have to go back and actually check my own Marginal Boundaries um, YouTube channel and see when the earliest one was there because I did some on a different YouTube channel as well, which I have to go check that one because I had the expat guidebook and I remember I bought a handheld Vimeo, not Vimeo. Vimeo is the other thing for YouTube. It's a Sony V something. I don't remember the name of but it was a handheld camera, handheld high definition, shoot 1920 by 1080 HD. At the time, it was like $800 for that camera, and I used that. It finally died on us. Um, when was that? Ireland. We used it all the way up to Ireland, which was 2017. So I got a good 6 years, almost 7 years out of that camera, and I recorded. Yeah, I don't want to know. It's hard to estimate. Um, 600, 700 videos for YouTube channels over the years, um, between marginal boundary stuff and then my personal vlogging. Um, but I like to I like to talk, so it's easy for me to just sit here in front of the camera and talk about random stuff. So this week, yeah, I got a haircut. Last week I just took it all down to like the number four or whatever it is, because Chris and I are running a lot. I'm not going anywhere. It made it easy for the summer, to just, since we're running all the time and everything else, it was like, I'm just gonna buzz it all off again. It also didn't hurt that I was having up at the front because I took a fireball to the face, I don't know, like 2 months ago, maybe a little bit longer, because of our water heater having issues. A really old water heater in this place, and the pilot light was being cranky, and I've worked with that kind of stuff my whole life and never had any problems. And this was a mechanical failure, not on my end. It was a mechanical failure, and yeah, it took a fireball to the face, and lost. Not that I have very good eyebrows anyway, but I lost all my eyebrows, and I lost like the half inch around my widow's peak, and a little bit of my mustache and some of this beard stuff. But it's all started to grow out now. But my hair was at weird lengths in the front, so it was perfect time to just cut it all off and go summertime. Which, running wise, and like a good sneeze into the void. We have been running 3 times a week and sprints 2 times a week. Been training pretty rigorously, for a 5K. We've been making really good progress. Um, Switched parks the other day. We found a different park. Now that we're kind of in a, we can do about 30 minutes, um, and feel pretty good. We're pretty gassed out by the end of 30 minutes, but we've worked our way up from 10, 15-minute runs all the way up to 30-minute runs. And there's a park which it's ways away from here. It's a 30-minute walk there. And we did this yesterday was Saturday. And actually today was supposed to be a sprints day, and we didn't do sprints today. We did take a like long hike today. I don't even know how long it was, but like 2 hours. We didn't do sprints today because I was actually feeling it today because we changed where we were running. And the new park we went to, it's 30 minutes there, ran for 30 minutes, 30 minutes back, but it's an actual kind of dirt gravel trail, so my legs are not used to that, and so my calves this morning were like, "Yeah, you did something yesterday that we're not accustomed to." So today I take it easy. Tomorrow we won't do anything because tomorrow's our normal rest day, so we're just gonna take 2 rest days this week. We've got to do a big walk tomorrow anyway, because it is our annual health insurance renewal tomorrow, and we can't do that online. Unfortunately, we have to actually go somewhere to do it, and that's a all morning thing. That'll be 3 to 4 hours tomorrow morning. So we're doing that tomorrow. What have I been up to interesting wise? Shows. Not watching any shows right now. Um, I'm just kind of biding my time because Masters of the Universe comes out later this month, um, and really looking forward to that. We just got the Witcher Con happened. I didn't catch all of it. I watched some of it, but I think the most interesting thing for me is they have, of course, announced that The Witcher 3 is actually getting more DLC now, inspired by the Netflix show, which I think is really cool. Um, because I've played twice now all the way through, and I've played the DLC once all the way through. And it'll be interesting to see what that new DLC is going to look like when it comes out, because it's such a good game. It makes me sad every time I think about how good The Witcher 3 was and how bad Cyberpunk 2077 was, because it's really, I don't know. It's just this thing where Witcher 3 was done in such a perfect way. I don't know why they couldn't have just taken that and transported it into a science fiction setting, this cyberpunk setting, and instead they had to add all these other features and things, which unfortunately didn't really translate well into Cyberpunk 2077. And forget for a minute the technical issues with the game. There's just a lot of stuff that doesn't work. I still do enjoy the game. I did give it, after the revamps. Got something in my throat here. Excuse me. After all the revamps, I still think Cyberpunk's worth like an 8 out of 10 because it does have a good core storyline and the side quests are a lot of fun. But it's a lot of the other stuff that's just kind of like the police and the random things, and it's just not what it could be. So it's unfortunate. Um, my shirt looks a little weird because it's a green shirt, so it's not quite sure what it wants to do with this shirt. And think about that before I start recording. And you can see the granulation around the edges. I'm too lazy to fix it. Um, so yeah, this week has been just a lot of had some good brainstorming sessions with my brother, um, and some good brainstorming sessions with my wife. Project Dramond related stuff, which I might as well talk about it. I end up talking about it at the end of the show anyway, but we'll talk about it now and just see where this conversation goes. Um, so we started coming we've decided we're at the point where we do need to come up with we need to start thinking about name of the company, which we've already got sorted out, and then um, name of the brand. What's the brand going to be called? Because Project Dramond has always just been the placeholder title. We have a lot of rough ideas. We're putting them on paper. There's a lot that goes into this because it's not just about the name itself. You have to in this day and age, you have to first, is your name gonna work stylistically? But then you have to check, are there any registered trademarks for that? Is the website available? Are the social media channels available? Um, does the brand name work in different formats, or are you going to have one format for the long version and another format for the logo version? Um, looking at Dungeons and Dragons, it's Dungeons and Dragons, but then they also do D, and then the ampersand in between the D and the two D's. That ampersand also is its own unique thing, and no matter if you see D&D or the ampersand, you know that we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. Forgotten Realms doesn't have that. They only have Forgotten Realms, and they don't have you know, these were brands that were invented before we had social media and the need for, round or small logos. Crowfall did a good job because the O with the crow in it also is in the name. I think that was very cleverly done. Um, So we're looking at lots of different brands and figuring out how we want to do ours, what we're going to call it. Sorry, I didn't mute myself before I did that snort. I promise I'm not sick. I had nachos, breakfast nachos before, and I think I've got some nacho crumbs in my throat. Because I was fine all morning until I ate. Anyway, so we've been just putting names down in a list, and sometime later this month, later in July, we're actually going to sit down, figure out which one that Chris, myself, and my brother think is the best. And then once that's done, we're going to register the website, get all the social medias locked down, and then we're going to go into logo production. And once we go into logo production, we will be having our community step in and give us their opinions on things. Um, so that'll be later this month. I don't know if we'll be asking people later this month, but we're going to lock everything down by the end of this month. Get the company formed and all of that stuff because it is time. We're starting to want to do publicity as we get into the playtesting for the tabletop, publishing book chapters now. It is time to actually give it a name and actually have it be its own thing. So that's happening soon. Joey wrapped up this past weekend. Got all the exteriors done. If you haven't seen the social media or the Discord things or TikTok things, check those out. We shared some good screenshots out and some video snippets of um, basically him being done with the exteriors, and now he's moving on to the environment. And the way we're building this out, instead of building it scene by scene, which is one way to do it. If you look at, say, the old LucasArts games or old Sierra games, they were definitely done scene by scene. So thinking King's Quest 6 as an example, you start off on the beach, then the next scene is the tree with the crossroads. You can go to the castle or you can go to the town. Um, and then that go to that scene, and then this is scene by scene by scene. Um, we decided to actually flesh this out as if we were building a regular 3D RPG, over the shoulder RPG or something, or even an MMORPG, where the starter village we're building as its own zone, and that zone is going to have scene lines or zone lines within it. So you'll be able to walk to the edge of the scene, you'll get a loading screen, and you get teleported to the next scene within this overall zone. This allows us to, in areas where we want the camera angle to show more than just what's going on in the scene, we want to show something in the background as well. We'll be able to have the entire town fleshed out, the entire village, and the landscape that it's set within, so that you will always have some sort of a visual backdrop without us having to paint something or to create some sort of unique background for each scene. So we're just building the whole zone out. I don't know the size of it right at the moment. Probably like 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. It's not huge. It is a village. And we don't need to have the zone around it built. We just have to have the landscape for it. So that's what Joey's working on right now. Is he was working on height maps the other day, and then he'll be going in and dropping that down into a terrain map, and then moving our 4 buildings into the correct location on top of that height map, and or on top of that terrain map, and then we begin the sculpting process from there. We'll go in and start actually doing the environmental art. For now, we're only doing the starting scene, which is going to be our prototype. But then he will be gray boxing the rest of that entire village out at the same time. And then as soon as we wrap up the prototype and have that available for people to play, he'll be turning around and starting to flesh out the other scenes in the progression of the story. So it's a work in progress. It's looking really good, I gotta say. Really happy with the art style we've gone with. Um, and we will probably be hiring soon. This summertime, probably might be too soon. Fall, I believe, is when we're going to be hiring. We will be bringing on, I believe, we'll be bringing on 1 or 2 contractors. We don't need a big team for this project. It's going to be just outsourcing some little things. to a contractor or two. So stay tuned for that if you want to come work on this project, because we're going to have some small things that need to be done that we don't want to do or don't have the time to do. So stick around for that. Chris and I had a long talk about just art and what we need to do for the rest of the tabletop source book and the first campaign module. She's deep into chapter work. She's wrapped up the second chapter image. Chapter 2 will be going live on Thursday. If you didn't get a chance to read chapter 1 yet, it was launched this past Thursday, so that's over on YouTube, over on Patreon, and I did a read through on YouTube as well of the whole chapter. I will not be doing that for future episodes. I will more than likely read a snippet for the YouTube video surrounding the chapter. But moving forward, all of those chapters are for the subscribers at Patreon. The first chapter was available for free to everyone as a preview, a teaser. But starting with chapter 2, moving forward, all of those chapters are at the lowest tier for the Patreon, which is $3 a month. But I will still be doing video snippets around those, and probably doing some sort of 500 word excerpt or something from the chapter, or a key moment from the chapter to tease it here on YouTube. So we've been working on that. Um, we've been doing a lot of just. I talked about this over the last couple weeks. I think we've talked about we might, we're planning on trying to do a van next year for a business venture. We're actually thinking we might get into, believe it or not, video game investments, which we have never done before. I'm somewhat familiar with it now because we did so much fundraising for the Saga Leucemia, and we raised a good chunk of money, and I signed a lot of cool contracts, and like with Bob Brown from Blizzard and so on and so forth. So we're not going to be at least at this point in time, we don't have any plans to fundraise for Project Dramond, but I have enough um, connections now that I think I want to go out there and put some money into video game projects. Chris and I have been talking a lot about, like, what do we want to do investment wise, so we're both 40. I'm 41, she's turning 40 this year. We're at the point where it's like we should invest money and start doing something. I mean, my brother-in-law does day trading and has been for many, many years. We've been thinking about getting into day trading as well. Nothing big, but a few $1,000s here, there. I don't trust crypto. Crypto terrifies me because one guy, Elon Musk, can get, have a bad day and make a tweet and ruin someone's fortune, and I don't like that. It's not stable enough. But Fig, I've had my eye on Fig for a very long time, and they just sold to Republic. .co. It's very legitimate, and pretty much all of their projects have always been successful. You've got Pillars of Eternity 2, you've got Wasteland 3, you got Bard's Tale, I think. A lot of good games have gone through Fig, and they're continuing to, expand. Um, so I think we're going to start doing some small investments in indie games through Fig. I don't know about any other sources um, that I trust to put my money through, but Fig is very reputable. Um, so we're digging, we're researching it at this point in time. We'll see what we want to do. But the thing with the video game industry is it's not getting smaller. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And pandemic did not slow it down. It just made it even bigger. And it's not going to slow down anytime soon because we have all of these emerging markets. So I got I don't want to say lucky. Luck had something to do with it. I made a lot of good money for quite a few years because I was getting into writing at the time when English language content was in hot demand around the world for websites, which was in 2007, 2008. 2008 was when I started, and I had a good 4 year run where all I did was website content, and I had clients all throughout the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, just basically Western Europe and the United States, and Australia as well, who were just everybody's building websites for English language content. We're in the same position right now with independent games in the sense that, yeah, the market is heavily saturated in, say, the United States and English speaking market, but emerging markets, especially the Latin market, This is where I benefit from speaking Spanish and being married to a Mexican and being located in Mexico City. Um, this is a massively exploding market beyond just English language content. Um, and we've got huge market in the Latin space for Spanish-based games. We've got huge markets, as we can see from China. There's a huge market for Chinese games, Japanese games, Korean games. Um, so you don't have to think about video games from only the English language perspective. There's much more going on than just the English language side of things. So, uh, not to put all of our eggs in one basket, but video games are here to stay, and I'm glad that we got into it when we did. I wish I would have got into it earlier, but hey, hindsight's 2020. Um, it's an interesting time to be alive, that's for sure. Um, also been reflecting on um, the Lord of the Rings as a movie series. I linked an article in maybe I didn't link it in Discord. I know I linked it on my yeah, I did. I linked it in Discord. It was about the it's a really good read. It's a very long article, but it was about the trust in people that went behind Bob Shea deciding to trust Peter Jackson to make the Lord of the Rings movies, and then that whole process. And I've read some articles over the weekend that talk about how for many people, if you just pay attention, if you like just go whole hog in the Lord of the Rings trilogy movies and get all of the extra footage and watch all those documentaries that they did and everything else, it's like a crash course in film school. It's got location scouting, it's got production stuff in there, it's got set design, it's got miniature design, it's got CGI stuff, it's got direction, it's got writing, I mean it's film school in a nutshell over the course of dozens of hours of documentary on how to make that obviously that was a very big film. um, but it's also got me thinking about, I'm not doing this anytime soon, by the way. It's just my brain likes to go a million different ways sometimes. And I've always, for those of you who've followed along long enough, I did all the video production for Saga of Leucemia. Um, I've done video production for, this goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning. I've been on YouTube since 2011. I'm not big though. I'm not big. I'm not a huge YouTuber. Um, but that doesn't really matter to me. I've done lots of things with YouTube and worked with a lot of clients and Marginal Boundaries, shooting a lot of travel documentary footage and things of that nature. And there's been something in the back of my mind that's always been like, I wonder if I should ever direct a short film. I'm not saying that I'm going to do that anytime soon, but as the technology gets better and better and it's more accessible to everybody, you don't need $1 million budget anymore to shoot something. If you've got the time and the dedication to build your own sets and um, make your own um, uh, costumes and things of that nature, it's totally doable. FYI, shout out to Nathan Napalm right now. He's been teasing it, and we've dropped it in Discord as well. But he's got a choose your own adventure. They're going through one of the official D&D modules, um, but it's choose your own adventure style for YouTube, and it's a YouTube series, but it's all done with hand puppets. And him and his family basically, it's him and his wife and his kids are doing all the shooting, as I understand it. But he put a lot of time and a lot of money into creating these puppets that they're using, and they've gone all in. He was talking about on the Looking for More show last week. Like, his wife is so into it that she quit her day job to do this full time with him, which is just amazing. Well, the reason I bring that up is because this is a perfect example of, if you've got the time and the dedication to make something happen, you don't need millions of dollars and a high-end VFX team. You can do it all. It's going to be indie. It's going to look indie. Who cares if it's entertaining? That's all that people ask for these days, is something that's entertaining and can keep them entertained for a few minutes or a few hours, whatever the case may be. And the longer I am alive, the more I think about, as much as I love storytelling from a written standpoint, also from an oral standpoint, and everything else, I really enjoy the idea, anyway, of filmmaking. Not on a grand scale. I'm not talking about, running around with 200 crew on like a Star Wars film or something. Um, but I do like the idea of putting together like a small short film, like a 15, 20 minute fantasy short film around one of my worlds. I think that would be a lot of fun. Um, and I think there's creative ways to do it. Chris and I, this I think it was this morning. No, yesterday morning. Sorry, I'm getting my times confused. We were we had a long talk with breakfast about the visual effects that went into the Lord of the Rings movies and how most of that was practical effects. So there wasn't a lot of and she's never watched the behind the scenes footage. So I'd like to have her watch through that, but there's no subtitles for that, so that'd be a little her English is good, but she sometimes gets lost with things, especially when it's like British and New Zealand English. Anyway, but like I was talking about the forced perspective thing where they did, normal size and then they just move that other person back in the distance so that it looks like they're small even though they're really not. They're both in the same room at the same time, but because of the forced perspective, they look smaller. And then we were talking about the bigatures they used, and then putting face masks on little people. Is that the correct term? I'm sorry if it's not. I'm not intimately familiar with political correct terms for things. Um, uh, but the different ways that they made that work because we just watched on Netflix the Huntsman series, which was like with Chris Hemsworth. I think the first one was like Snow White, and then they did a follow-up sequel. And the dwarves in that movie, she was like, "Are those really dwarves? Are those really, dwarves, little people, or how do they do that?" I'm like, "That's all CGI." You could tell the way they did it because they literally just shrunk down even the horses. They're not ponies. They're literally just horses that have been shrunk down. So that was all CGI stuff. So anyway, I have a passing interest in that. I'm not doing it anytime soon because I don't have the time or the energy, but it might be something to do within the next 5 or 10 years. Just see where things go. And I've long had a desire to do. I love what Viva La Dirt League does with the Epic NPC Man, and I've had a long time. I've thought about doing a cooking show in costume um, around a fantasy cookbook, and uh, my brother and I drafted some stuff a few years back, and um, the only reason I haven't done it is because I live in the city. If I lived in an area where I had access to the woods, and I mean, I could probably do it at the park here, I suppose, but there would be some limitations on what you could do at the park. Um, in any case, ideas, thoughts, stuff. I think it's time for a nap. I'm pre-recording this on Sunday, of course. It's 12:30. I've been up since 5, and I'm thinking it is time for a nappy nap. So I think I'm going to wrap this up. I'm 28 minutes in anyway. So that's about all I've got this week. It was a slow week, just lots of running and training, working on Project Dramond, watching a couple of movies. Um, I'm very slowly working my way through the first Dragonlance book. I can read that book in 2 days, easy. But I've spread it out over weeks now because I'm just very slowly chewing my way through it as I work on that and then work on the chapters for Project Dramond. Just kind of, it's great to have inspiration source for the omniscient point of view because I'm not intimately familiar with that, but I'm slowly getting. I think I'm getting the hang of it. Everybody seemed to like chapter one. So that was good. Haven't heard any complaints yet. It hasn't really been edited. It's normally with things what I would do is I would write everything out, write the whole book, then I would go back and start revisions and rework it 6 or 7 times, but I'm not doing that with this. Now I may do that when everything is out, when I've gotten all the blah, blah, when I've gotten all the chapters published on Patreon. I would probably then compile all the chapters and then go through it and weed out any of the. Oh wait, that was supposed to be 5 years, not 2 years. Wait a second, he's wearing a purple cloak, not a green cloak. I have to change that. Like, there's gonna be things in there that I miss because I'm not doing heavy editing. Instead, I'm just sort of writing it, giving it one or two quick polish passes, and then throwing it out on Patreon. And eventually, I'm gonna get caught uh, screwing something up with a timeline or forgetting someone was wearing a certain piece of clothing or the timelines are slightly wonky. I forget what day of the week it is. That kind of stuff. That will happen. But so far it seems to be working, so I'm pretty happy with it. So stick around. That's it. I'm out. Gotta go sleep. Thanks everybody. Subscribe, bell icon, support Patreon, all those things. See you next time. Oh, and don't forget, episode 15 of Mondays and MMORPGs is coming out later today. This is going to be the last episode for season 3. We're going to be taking at least a month break, probably a 2-month break, because I've got a lot of work that I got to get done with the tabletop for Project Dramond. And also, it's a good time for Scribbles, who's my main co-host, to take a break as well because he got a bunch of stuff going on with Defend the Night. So we're gonna take a break here for a little bit. Um, if we don't come back in August, it'll be at the end of August, early September. When we come back for season 4, I'm not sure yet if it's going to continue in the same format or if we're going to change it to more of a news show because I do like the looking for more podcast the way we do that show. I like that a lot. And I'm not trying to steal Simmer's thunder or anything like that, because we talk about very unique things on his show. Um, I would like to do a similar thing, but talking about not just MMORPGs. I would like to talk about books and video games and just all sorts of stuff. So I haven't figured out what I want to do with Mondays and MMORPGs yet. When we come back for season 4, it's like I said, it's probably just going to be um, still focused on MMORPGs, but also on other things related to MMORPGs. And I'm not sure if we're going to continue to do like having developers on and things like that. I think we might just have interesting people on to chat about um, games and having fun playing games and the latest news and latest games that people are enjoying and trends and things of that nature and what movies are being made around games. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. So if you have ideas for that kind of stuff and you want to join the show in September, let me know because we'll be looking for more people to come hang out with us and have fun on that show. So, but yeah, it's a couple month break and then we'll be back for that. So in the meantime, I will be continuing with Monday Musings because I do these on Sundays usually and they're quick and easy. So next time, everybody.